Imagine you're sitting in your car right now. It's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. The engine is off, the radio is silent, and you're just staring at your own front door. Your chest feels tight. Your palms are slightly damp on the steering wheel. You've been sitting here for 20 minutes. You told yourself you're just decompressing from a 12-hour workday, but that's a lie. The truth is much darker. You are afraid to go inside your own house, the house you pay for, the life you built. You're terrified of that small, disappointed exhale that's waiting for you on the other side of that door, the one that says more than 1,000 screams ever could. Brother, you're living in a fantasy. You think you're being a good man, a supportive partner, and a patient husband, but you've actually encountered what psychologists call the shadow, an unconscious darkness moving silently in plain sight. You are currently a prisoner in a system you helped build, suffering from what I call domestic Stockholm syndrome. And today, I'm going to show you the actual code they use to break you, why you've become an accomplice in your own colonization, and how to reclaim your psychological sovereignty before there's nothing left of your soul to save. Don't say you weren't warned. Look at your life through a cold, objective lens for a moment. 6 months ago, or maybe 6 years ago, she seemed perfect. She was charming, intelligent, and more empathetic than anyone you'd ever met. She listened to your problems, offered thoughtful advice, and made you feel understood in ways that were intoxicating. Your friends loved her. Your family thought you finally hit the jackpot. But something shifted, slowly, methodically. It started with the respect recession. You began noticing that your kindness was being processed by her ancient biological software, not as a virtue, but as genetic inferiority. You think you know your woman, but the software has been completely rewritten while you were still running compatibility mode from a world that no longer exists. You've become an executive donkey. In the boardroom, you're a lion. You fire underperforming staff without blinking. You make million-dollar decisions with a steady hand. But the second you walk through your front door, you transform into a pack animal. You find yourself mentally rehearsing apologies for things you haven't even done yet. You're calculating whether the joint account has enough for the artisanal cheese she wants, wondering if you bought the wrong brand of yogurt, and feeling guilty for wanting to watch a game instead of a true crime documentary. This isn't partnership, it's a hostile takeover disguised as a merger. The most disturbing part of this transformation is how unaware you are that it's even happening. You rationalize each small surrender as love. You call each boundary crossed a compromise. You label each freedom sacrificed as maturity. But Schopenhauer understood the fundamental nature of power over 200 years ago. Power isn't given, it's taken. And once you demonstrated that you could be controlled, you were controlled completely. You are currently working in a factory designed to manufacture one specific product, your complete and total self-doubt. Every day, every interaction, and every conversation is just another assembly line producing that same devastating question, am I the problem here? This factory is incredibly efficient because she never has to explicitly tell you that you're the problem. The system is designed so that you reach that conclusion yourself. When every conflict ends with you apologizing, your brain starts to accept a devastating truth. You must be the source of all the friction. This is temporal blame shifting in action. In her mind, you aren't just responsible for today's mood, you're accountable for every negative experience she's ever had, even the ones that happened before you met. Her absent father? That's why you're not emotionally available enough. Her cheating ex? That's why she's allowed to track your phone. You've become a universal scapegoat, a container for her mental waste, and you're thanking her for the opportunity to serve. Why do we let this happen? It's because of a cognitive glitch called the halo effect. Your brain is a biological machine looking for shortcuts. It runs a beauty is good stereotype, where physical symmetry is automatically processed as moral integrity and honesty. When you look at her, your subconscious doesn't see a human with flaws. It sees a goddess and assumes every word out of her mouth is gospel. You project virtue onto her because investigating her character is exhausting, but accepting a beautiful illusion is effortless. This isn't a prize, that's a prison sentence. By projecting virtue onto her based on her looks, you strip her of the one thing she needs to grow, the resistance of the truth. In her world,
cause and effect have been decoupled. She lives in an information desert where truth is rarer than water in the Sahara. This desert exists because of social validation, the ancient tribal fear of being cast out of the circle of beauty. People around her suppress the truth because they crave a positive association with her. They would rather be a yes person in a beautiful lie than a pariah in a cold reality. And you, the man who's supposed to be her rock, have become the lead architect of this desert. You trade your integrity for a front-row seat to a delusion, forgetting that a seat on a sinking ship is still a death sentence. Let's look at the mathematics of the game. This is what I call the honesty-sex contradiction. In the biological marketplace, being honest with a beautiful woman rarely leads to sexual rewards, while strategic agreement often does. You're not trying to deceive her maliciously, you're trying to survive in a system where truth is relationship suicide. You're running the good boy protocol, a program installed when you were 5 years old. Your mother, your teachers, and a culture that told you to be a golden retriever when her biology is screaming for a wolf. But the more you try to make her happy by surrendering, the less she respects you. You are suffering from a respect recession, and your niceness is the currency that is rapidly losing its value. The most sophisticated form of this manipulation involves her presenting as a victim while operating as a predator. She has mastered the art of gaining sympathy while using that sympathy to control you. The victim presentation is tactical, not authentic. It's designed to trigger your masculine protective instinct, the hook that keeps you trapped in her psychological web. The person you've been trying to save starts treating you like you're the problem. The victim you've been protecting starts attacking you as the perpetrator. This is a power-wisdom disaster. In any other field, power is earned through failure and experience, but beautiful women acquire adult-level power over men's behavior overnight during adolescence. They have maximum influence with minimum understanding. She acquired this power at 14 while she was still emotionally a child. From that moment on, her reality models became warped. She began to believe that her feelings are facts and her desires are rights. And now you're living in the fallout of that disaster. You're trapped in a trauma bond. This isn't love, it's a psychological attachment formed through cycles of intense stress followed by relief. She generates crises that create intense pressure, then provides a crumb of affection, making you grateful for the return to baseline rather than questioning why the stress existed in the first place. This uncertainty creates a psychological addiction similar to gambling. You're hitting the lever, hoping for a jackpot of affection that only comes often enough to keep you from leaving. Here's the turning point, the moment the drama explodes. It usually happens when you achieve something great outside the home. Maybe you just got the biggest promotion of your career. You come home excited, ready to share the victory, and instead of congratulations, she says, "I guess this means you'll be home even less now." In that microsecond, something clicks. You realize that no achievement will ever be celebrated, no success will ever be enough, and no amount of proving yourself will ever make her see you as anything but a disappointing service provider. You realize that you've been acting as an emotional appliance, a resource to be utilized, and a container for her internal chaos. The fallout of this realization is devastating. You look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. You've been psychologically colonized. You've started adopting her emotional patterns, her vocabulary, and her distorted frameworks. You've matched her energy, becoming colder and more distant, thinking you're holding frame, but you're really just becoming a mirror of her dysfunction. This is the death of the sovereign man. You've become a human doing instead of a human being. You're counting the years until the kids are grown so they can escape a prison you're still paying the mortgage on. But there is a way out, and it starts with the most powerful position in any relationship, being the one who needs less. When you genuinely don't need her approval, her validation, or even her presence to feel complete, you become irreplaceable. This is the process of individuation. You must become so internally complete that her disapproval becomes irrelevant to your self-worth. You have to be willing to be the bad guy, because the moment you stop participating in the dysfunction, she is going to paint you as selfish, cruel, and abandoning. You have to be willing to disappoint her, because her disappointment has been controlling you for years. The red button is in front of you. pushing it means reclaiming your backbone. It means realizing that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. True strength comes from abandoning the illusion of control and focusing exclusively on what you can control, your own thoughts, your own reactions, and your own choices. You cannot love someone into psychological health. You cannot sacrifice yourself enough to fill a void that has no bottom. Nature doesn't care about your morals. It only cares about DNA continuation. Love is the ultimate biological trick, a chemical high that fades the moment it serves its purpose. When you achieve psychological sovereignty, the power dynamic shifts instantly. You stop negotiating and start leading, not through tyranny, but through an unshakable masculine core. You set standards and enforce them ruthlessly. No negotiation, no compromise on core requirements. This sounds harsh to a world raised on Disney movies, but it's the only way to maintain your sanity. Quality women respect